No, we had too many. A couple weeks. Too late in Miami and last week.
Stay standing, man.
So we'll see what he decides after that.
All right, well, good evening again, and at this time, if you're able to rise, please do so for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so this time I'll open up the first hearing and privilege of the floor. Remind everybody we have 30 minutes. If anybody wishes to address the board, just please go to the podium, say your name and address, and adhere to our 5-minute policy, please. All right, at this time I'll close the first hearing and privilege of the floor. Remind everyone that we will have one coming up shortly towards the end of the meeting. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Superintendent Schwartz for her comments.
Thank you. Just have a brief thank you. Well, I don't want to chat with you about it. Actually, I'd like to chat with you. So the first thing is, I understand that at the meeting that I missed, the earlier July meeting, there was some conversation about the charge, and we certainly had exchanged some emails. I will tell you that my goal, my thinking right now is that in terms of the charge for the overarching Reimagining Our Schools group, that I'm going to, as the selection process, if you will, that anyone who responds and would like to be a part of it, we will make them part of it. We have lots of subgroups that will be working, so I don't really see a reason to be more selective, but to give everyone who is willing to work and wants to work an opportunity to do so. So you will see that change to the charge. This timeline is the overarching timeline for what we're going to accomplish. So you can see that those groups, as they kick off, will be doing some further study and analysis that will include their ability to review both of the enrollment studies that were done, the 2010 one and then the 2021 one. We will be doing lots of public engagement while the subgroups are working, but also community forums and outreach and surveys, students included. The board will need to determine which school to repurpose or close based on the recommendations that come to you, but we will need that information certainly as we go into budget. But I want to explain something I had said to you folks in an email earlier today. In terms of reductions in force, if we are at a point where we are going to reduce staff, those reductions are managed through our contracts. So teachers are not granted seniority based on the building they're in. It's their time in the district, regardless of their building or their or their certification. So for example, at the high school, all of the middle school, high school English teachers are one group based on seniority. At elementary, anyone who's teaching in a gen ed classroom is one group in terms of seniority. So if you were to say, and I'm not saying this, that we were going to close Sacandaga, it isn't the people at Sacandaga who would necessarily be reduced in force. It would be contractually those people who were most recently hired. That's kind of a baseline. So in my work with Mr. Giaquinto, we will be able to identify the savings prior to identifying a specific school based on, for example, given our enrollment, would we need to reduce in force by 8 elementary teachers or 12 elementary teachers? Regardless of school, those people will be on the bottom of the seniority list. So we will be able to identify who those folks are and what that savings would be. The same is true of everything else. So secretaries, principals, aides, monitors, teaching assistants, aides and monitors are one-year appointments, but typically, again, it's the folks who have been most recently hired. Teaching assistants also have seniority within the teaching assistants group. Nurses have seniority based on the nurses group. And all of that is contractual and an HR question. So folks who think that getting to the specific school first is the thing we have to do, we can start that work without identifying the specific school. Does that make sense? But I will need to know from you whether or not you're going to support either closing, or I'm still hopeful that we are repurposing a school. We'll be working on transition preparation, and that will be everything from updates to bus routes, redrawing our attendance boundaries to most likely service 3 schools. The actual closure and move would occur in summer 2026. That's the physical piece of that. Those other questions need to be answered before then, and then we would anticipate that everything that's going to happen, we will be prepared to go on the first day of school. Now, I don't mean prepared to tell people on the first day of school, but that we will have informed folks, kids will know, staff will know where they're going to be on September 1st of 2026. This timeline is going to grow because as the subgroups start working, they will be populating when they're meeting, what their agendas are, what their minutes are, and those pieces, as Kathy and Julia work to build our website, has homes for all of that information, if that makes sense. We're think we will be ready on Wednesday morning. Julia's back with us. Julia's with the district 2 days a week now, so it's making things a little tighter for us, but we believe we'll be ready to go live on Wednesday morning. We've had over 40 folks fill out the form, the volunteer form already. I anticipate there will be more. And what we're doing at this point is simply creating buckets around each of those subgroups we had talked about and assigning people to those buckets based on what they said they'd like to work on. But it will be those actual teams that will determine when they meet. As we say on the form, certainly not more than twice a month. But once those groups form, they may decide they want to meet virtually, and they're going to meet more than that. They're going to meet once a month. So parts of this still need to get fleshed out as we move forward in the process. Any questions about this at this point?
Susan, could you remind me how many subcommittees there are?
7 right now.
Thank you.
And there potentially will be more as we begin moving down the road, but these are sort of what I'm considering the 7 big rocks at this point. And then either within those subgroups or perhaps needing a new subgroup to talk about additional things. That'll come a little bit later. But the 7 we have identified are the big pieces to get moving.
Can we have on the timeline final committee recommendation, like end of January or February 1?
That's
so
what
that
you're
way.
going to see in February, so we will have them probably in January.
Okay, thank you.
Those things that absolutely have to be decided, as opposed to some of the transition.
Right, they go along. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank
Yes.
you.
Susan, you've referenced the materials and studies that have been done in years past. Is there any way that we could get those on the drive so that we could get access to those as we go?
Yes, they will be part of the Reimagining Our Schools link, which is going to be right in the banner, so that anybody can see them and read through them and know what's there. And we'll add additional information as we go, Chip, that we think will be helpful to people, either in terms of articles they might read and things they might consider, or, for example, how, in fact, human resources hires how they manage reductions in force, not about specific people, but what that process looks like, so that folks can read along and know what's going on. And I think that'll be helpful as people come to forums and to voice their opinions or attempt a survey to have a better sense of how the process works.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Two questions. Is there a subgroup for the repurposing of the school, or are you handling that part of it?
I'm sorry.
The repurpose of the school?
Oh, we have a repurposing subgroup,
Okay,
which, yes, I will be on.
okay.
Because you
And,
know I'm heading in a direction. I'm sure you're shocked to hear that.
no. And the transition preparation, whenever the families find out their student is going to this school or whatever school it's now, I don't want to go to that school, I want to go to this school, would that be considered? Or that'd be just, right now, let's stick with this?
Well, we will redraw the attendance boundaries to accommodate 3 schools. And much like the process we use now, which we call the swap meet, folks can request a school other than their home school.
Okay,
In some instances, although not so much the most recent years, we've moved students, and for those students, we've moved to balance enrollments. We often give those youngsters transportation because the district chose to move them. Parents who want their children moved, they provide the transportation for those children. And then we do have some thoughts about if I move your youngest and then your next one coming into school, now you don't want to change schools again. We generally let that second child go to the same school as the first child.
okay.
So there will be some room for that. Probably very much like it is now, and I want to say maybe we had 75 kids on the swap list, about 75 youngsters. And then some of them are swapped like our English as new learners children because all those services are at SAP.
Okay, thank you.
So yes. I also want to let the board know, Kathy reached out to Chad today. We have an email set up for the Employee of the Month. So we'll be able to get that up and running on Wednesday also. And
Thank
then
you.
those will come to an email, a central email, and we will share them with you. And I assume you're going to run that on sort of a rolling, people submit them, and then you will look at whatever's there at each meeting.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
you're very welcome. And finally, I'm going to turn it, if there are no other questions for me, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jerry Clinton.
Okay, beautiful.
So I wanted to give the board a brief update on the capital project, $12.5 million project that we started this summer construction. The good news is we're on schedule for where we wanted to be at the end of August, early September. We had some supply chain issues with some of the boiler mechanisms like fin tubes and cabinets, but the ship dates are in, and we expect to have most of Lincoln looking pretty good by September. We definitely have heat by September 5th. The vestibule work is for the 4 schools, which is Lincoln, Glenwarden, Glendale, and the middle school. Will be partially finished by the opening of the school, but there's some supply issues getting these bulletproof glass in, so that'll go in probably around Thanksgiving. There'll be no, everything will be secured to the extent it was the prior year and a little better, but the glass is on back order, and we expect to put it in no later than the Thanksgiving recess. So that's all good news. The board remembers that the bids came in a little high and we lost a general contractor, Montequisti withdrew, which threw us going into the next tier. But the good news is through value-added engineering work that the architect, myself, the construction manager, and the contractors, we got some concessions by maintaining the work, without compromising the integrity of it. We only had to cut some small things. So that's really good news because it could have gone the other way. So I just wanted to give you an update. In October, I'll have the architect, the construction manager, give you a full update on what, you'll see pictures and everything else. And I want to give you some good news on what's going on this summer.
Beautiful. Thanks. Anyone have any questions for Drew on that?
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Susan?
No, thank you.
All right, moving on to reports, update, legislative, Kim French.
First, on January 31, 2025, the president signed an executive order that the presidential fitness test is back. So they haven't given full details on it yet, but students should be anticipating having to take those tests this coming fall at some point. The other state law that I thought was interesting that's come into play, public and private schools are going to be required to adopt a fentanyl education program to give students grades 6 through 12 as a part of their health education class curriculum to cover the risks, recognizing symptoms, how to use the test strips, how to use the naloxone. And the Department of Health is going to train school staff on how to teach these courses. So there's no particular timeline yet, so I'm not exactly sure when that's going to come into play, but it will be coming. And that's it.
Thank you. PTA?
Kind of a time for hibernation, get some training done currently. Elementary units are out there engaging our incoming kindergarten families. This Friday at Lincoln, they'll be having an event to welcome their incoming families. Glen Warden will have theirs on the 28th of this month at 4 to welcome. I know SAC has done 3 different ones over the year. So just doing our best so we can get those families in, make a friend, get them integrated, settled in, and bring them in successfully. And we're going to have our first meeting on October 15th, 6 p.m., Lincoln Library, for anyone who wants to come down. And that's about all we got.
Beautiful, thank you. Audit committee, our first audit committee meeting of the year is September 22nd. Let's see. Board of Education Policy Committee.
We had hoped to have the finished policies for the board to look at in August, but because of all the changes and whatever going on in district office, those won't be available till September. In the meantime, we are the group of us, the committee, Mike and Chad and I, are going to be getting the printed out appendices, because that's what we're at now. We've got all the policies are done. Kim and I finished those last year. And so now we need to go through the appendices. So that's our next step, is to look at those. And hopefully in September, we will be looking at all the changes that need to be made to the policies and be able to approve them. It's like 4 years worth of work. So hopefully those will all be approved. Because it's pretty disheartening to go back and see that a policy was written in 1984 or something like that when we're in 2025. So all that should be finished and updated by the end of September.
Beautiful, thank you. Board of Education goals. I know that Chad was kind enough for the board to put a Google Doc together so we can share some thoughts. I know Chad and Kim Furnish had put some on there. We'd like to have this on the agenda next meeting so we can talk about it. Go further. So if you haven't seen it in our email, just go ahead and look at that. It's an email, right? Not the drive. It's in our emails, right? Okay. So that way we can all kind of contribute to it and then talk about that at our next meeting, if that works for everybody.
Step-by-step guide.
Yeah, I figured once we get that situated out there, we can get over on the drive. But so that way we can have the discussion on there so it's not as messy.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then budget. I know we'll be chatting about a fiscal report next, so move right on to that for Drew here. So, all right, if I can get a motion, please, on item number 6 to accept the fiscal report for 24-25.
I'll motion to accept the physical report for 24-25 school year.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thanks, Chad. At this point, turn over to Drew to give us an explanation on this. I know we have some questions. Sure.
So in the board's packet, there's a financial narrative, there's a summary, an executive summary that kind of is a broad categorization of revenue and expenses, and then supported by the 400 line items of detail on expenses and the revenue. I also provided the board a a continuing chart that shows the change in favorable variances in some key expense categories. I introduced that in the last presentation on June 9th during the budget forum. I provided at the third fiscal projection, and I've expanded it again to reflect the final year numbers to show you really why the surplus in the related fund balance is down from 3.98% or 2.7 million a year ago to 1.7% or like 1.7 million. And you can see that the driver of special ed, as I've alluded to throughout the year, the additional unbudgeted students dropped that number almost $700,000 from what we were able to save a year ago to this year. So we had to find that money from other areas and reallocate it. And then the health insurance was another significant, still favorable, but big dip from a year ago. And we had to put money into the balance sheet over at our self-funded drug. So the self-funded drug for Scotia lost about $1 million this year, so I had to throw about $500,000 extra unbudgeted over because we have requirements for reserve. We have to have so much money on hand to maintain a participant in the consortium, because you have to pay the claims. So, those were the two main drivers. If we didn't have those two events, you probably would have still been around $4 million surplus and about that 4%. But that was the reality. We talked about it during budget and again through the fiscal projections. But if you look at item A in your packet, it's a real good chart that kind of shows you the side-by-side of what changed from a year ago. And again, it reflects the fourth projection. I did one for the third projection. I'll continue this model, something I came up with as a way to support verbiage. I know sometimes financials can have some complexity, and that's not the objective. It's to be able to convey where we were, where we are, and where we're going. So all in all, we're a little more favorable than the last projection, but as I alluded to a few months ago, as we finalize certain billings and contractual obligations and get some additional revenue on some, we finalize that, I tend to be able to squeegee out some more, surplus by the end of the year. And I tell you that's, I don't want to give you and take it away, so I give you conservative. So from 2.5, we finished at 3.2 million. And that allowed us to put $250,000, if you approve it tonight, in the tax surcharge reserve for the aforementioned lows 2 weeks ago. You see the Walmart write-up tonight. There's additional ones. So this will allow us to take the surplus and reserve some of it. If we don't use it, we'll bring it back to appropriate, and we'll raise the taxes a year from now like we did this year. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Questions for Drew?
So we're about a little over 2 million down from where we were at this time, next 2.2? Okay. The one question I had, it was with the special education. It said, let's see, we're favorable because we've reallocated savings from grant subsidies and private placements. Are these grant subsidies just from this year, for this year? Are they multiple year? I'm not exactly sure what that means.
There was 611 and 619, called the IDEA Act, from Susan probably knows when it happened in the 70s, I believe. But the federal government at one time 100% supported special needs, and now they support probably 50%. So we get this grant allocation, and so let's say Chad's a teacher with special needs and he's supported by the grant. I carry Chad in the general fund and in the grant. So the grant comes in and really gives us a surplus because he's covered. But if the grant goes away or is diminished, I still have him in the general fund and I raise taxes. That helps create surplus.
And that's a year-by-year situation.
This year I had to pull that in more than ever to cover that deficit.
And then what the other piece was said private placements. Can you explain what that is and how that helps?
Those are students that go to places like Oak Hill or Parsons. So they don't go to the BOCES programs, they go to these private placements. And we didn't have as many students there, so I was able to take some surplus from what we budgeted and throw it into the public tuition.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chad, you were a teacher, but I was just using
I was curious, Drew, it's more into this year. What are we forecasting for special needs students going out of the district? And with this new program being installed in September, the 611. I'm curious if any of the kiddos that we had last year, would that have helped us? Would that have been, could we have accepted them in?
Yes, I think the objective that Katie's been working on is to have more in-house, bring kids back instead of going out. So yes, it would help.
Okay. What are we looking for this year as far as forecasting for kids out of district?
+5 to where we were, and we'll know more in the fall when they place with finally. So when I give you the first projection, November-ish, I'll give you a good indication where we look at that point, and then I'll monitor it for you.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Thank you, Drew. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. Can I get a motion and a second, please, for item number 7?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agreement between Scotia-Glenville Central School District and HMB Consultant.
Chad, second.
A second.
Anyone have any questions or comments on this? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. Can I get a motion, please, on item number 8?
I move that we adopt the district code of conduct, elementary, middle school, and senior high school with the suggested changes as submitted.
Thanks, ma'am. A second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Anyone have any further questions or comments on that? All right, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. And a motion, please, for item number 9.
I'd like to make a motion to approve classroom rental and ancillary services agreement with BOCES.
Thanks, Chad. A second, please.
A second.
Thank you both. Questions on this? Comments?
Where exactly are the facilities that they're renting for the classroom rental?
So in the high school, right?
And one here.
One in this school.
Thanks.
Thank you. If nothing else, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. Can I get a motion, please, on item number 10?
I make a motion to approve this is distance learning classroom rental agreement with BOCES as submitted.
Thank you. A second.
Second.
Thanks, Chad. Anyone have any questions on this one or comments?
I had a couple. For the room temperature of 82 degrees, we get very specific as to what we're doing. But then when we get to 88 degrees, we just say, we'll have a plan.
I think we're on
we're
district
on-
learning.
Yeah, we're on district learning.
Oh, I'm totally at the wrong thing, sorry. I'm ahead of the game.
That's right.
I'm behind on the other one, sorry.
Hold that thought.
You're a minute too soon.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Hold that thought for a minute.
Yeah,
Are you
sorry.
having any distance learning classes this year?
We will always have distance learning classes, yes. Simple.
Anything else? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. If I get a motion now for item number 11, since I think we have a question.
I'd like
A
to
motion
make,
to approve the new Board of Education policy for the first reading, number 9545, for extreme heat conditions.
Thank you. And second?
second.
Thank you. Kim Furnish.
Thanks. Now I'll ask my question. So for the plan for 82 degrees or greater, we get very specific as to what we're going to do. But when it comes to 88 degrees, all we say is that we're going to have a plan to remove. Do we have a plan in place, and can we hear what that is?
To remove students from that place and
Right.
to relocate them to a cooler spot in the building. And that will be somewhat dependent on how many students are in the building, like if it's during Regents Week. In June, for example, we'd have less trouble moving some kids because we have less students here. So it's going to be specific to that day and that situation. But yes, I would guess that, I wouldn't guess, I know, the principals know which spaces in their buildings are air conditioned, and then would move students accordingly.
Okay.
I got a question for Drew, I think. So what is the method that will be taking the temperature, and is that district-wide?
We have temperature sensors at each classroom that we monitor for building and grounds. If someone has a concern that that isn't functioning, we go investigate it. Sometimes we have to change out the sensor, but we'll be monitoring it from the facility point because we have the ability to do that technology-wise.
Great.
Anything else? All right, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstained? So moved. May I get a motion and a second, please, item number 12?
I'd like to make a motion to approve revised Board of Education policy for a first reading, number 1,240, visitors to the school, and 1,040-R, visitors to the school regulation.
Thank you, Chad. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Questions or comments on this one?
I got a question for Susan. We don't have to get into it, but we do have a procedure if there's an unauthorized person that pops on the Raptor.
Correct.
Thank you.
And that will be a more doable procedure as the secure vestibules come into play.
Can you explain what the management system is a little bit?
I'm sorry?
The management system, what it
A
is?
Raptor?
Yeah.
Scans your driver's license and then, or formal ID, and then compares it to the state databases for sexual offenders to see if your name pops up on one of those state databases.
Thank you.
And it gives us a sticker with our picture on it too to wear.
Yes,
So
right.
instead of wearing a lanyard that says visitor, you get the sticker.
Correct.
It only takes a few minutes when you're going through.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstained? So moved. And a motion, please, on resolution 13.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution to increase the tax statutory reserve fund.
Thank you. And a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mike. Questions or comments on this one?
How much do we have in the undesignated fund balance right now? For that?
1.7.
And can you talk a little bit about the recent news on Walmart?
Yes. So this is the fourth. So in 2017, they grieved, they received no reduction. 2018, they grieved, received no reduction. 2019, they grieved, they received no reduction. 2020, they looked for about an $8.5 million reduction. They were granted $877,000. 2025, they've now looked for to cut theirs basically in half from 12 million to 6.6. So we'll see what happens. As I mentioned to the board last on Lowe's, we partner with the town of Glenville. They sometimes hire an outside appraiser. We share the cost with them. It helps mitigate. See if we get the jinx us more favorable. So usually these businesses, like Old Dominion Trucking, which is in the park, they want to knock theirs down from 6.6 million to 600,000. So really, they don't want to be assessed. Do I think that'll happen? Probably not. But we put it in the, we account for it. We try to reserve what we think is adequate so that the doesn't affect the operating budget during the fiscal year. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstained? So moved. Make a motion, please, on item number 14.
Make a motion to approve tuition from a non-resident student.
Thank you, Marquette. A second, please. Questions or comments on this one?
What is the tuition again?
The board adopts these rates and they're set by the state, so I don't know off the top of my head, but probably like, I'm guessing 14 for a regular ed, special ed's more. They're on the website and they're adopted by the board each year.
And this student is relocating from a much smaller school district to pre-K to 12th grade, 358 students. But their parent lives in Schenectady and thinks the jump from where they're coming from to Schenectady would be an awfully large jump. I'd have to agree. So that's why they've requested here.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed or abstained? So moved. Motion on communications, please.
I'll move communications A through G, staffing 1 to 13, the placement of students with disabilities, and the motion to extend the agreement with the sports transportation.
I'll second.
All right, thank you all. Questions or comments on all that?
Question for Susan. Will this affect our reading teacher numbers at all, or?
No, actually, I just had a reading teacher accept this afternoon, one of our new hires. We are back to even.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions?
What is, it says, with the bid extension, it says it's all the same except for the exception of a CPI increase. Could you explain that, Drew?
So yes, last year, the board accepted the bid to award for sports and field trips Durham. Brown bid, I forgot the other list, excuse me. There's 2 other bids.
I do.
It didn't qualify. So this is just a 1-year CPI extension. All the conditions remain the same in Durham. I'll try to get the board this week. Personally, I'm off sick, so I didn't want to withdraw or stuff.
No, I totally understand that. Thank you.
And we've been using Durham since 2017. They supplement when we can't use our regular drivers because we're short. I decided to go out and get Durham or somebody to help us out. And so for the last 8 years, they've been helping us out. Supplement our sports and field trips.
Thank you.
No other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. Moving on to other business.
I just want to shout out the extended school year and the Learning Leads teams. I know they had their culminating event last year, or last week, excuse me. Miss Sia Tolley doing a phenomenal job over there. They're wrapping up their business, and just shout out to them. Wonderful job.
Absolutely, thank you. Anyone else? All right, so at this time we'll open up the second hearing privilege of the floor. Remind everyone that we have 30 minutes. Anyone like to address the board? Please just let us know your name and address, please, and here to our 5-minute policy.
Hi, Sarah Hoffman, President of the Scotia-Glenville Teachers Association. If we could just go to page 5 in the agenda. I think there's a couple of things that need to be corrected. The mock trial, it actually is a contractual stipend. It's $1,482.81. It says no stipend next to their names. So I think that's just an error. On page 6.
Can you say what that amount was again, please?
Yeah, totally. $1,482.81, which would be split between the 2 of them. It's listed right in the contract. And then I just was looking for some clarity on page 6, under some of the advisors and appointments. It says that there's a student advisor. And I wasn't really sure what that is because that is not listed in our contract. I didn't know what that role was. It appears to only be at the middle school. And I think the National Junior Honor Society is a mistake because I'm guessing that the student advisor should have been a TBD with 0 stipend, just based on what else is on here, and that Stephanie and Amanda should get a stipend because that's also listed in the contract. And that number is $602.34 or 3 cents. So I'm not sure what that's the first time we've seen student advisor on there. So, thanks.
Okay, thank you. We'll get back to you on that.
Thank you, Sarah.
Amy Martha, 506 Mohawk Avenue. Thank you, Superintendent Schwartz, for your timeline on reimagining our schools. With all due respect, February is too late. This board likes to take their time making a decision, as was evident in last year's budget. That needs to be moved up. There needs to be a solid date that this board has to vote. And it can't be waffled on, it can't be pushed out. We have to vote on that day. This board needs a date. I appreciate February 2026. That'll end up being February 28th. which is too late. The deficit is setting up to be over $2 million again. We already know that. Drew was very nice about saying, the business manager, sorry, was very nice about saying that last year. It's going to be over $2 million. He'll come out with his projection in November. February 28th is too late for you guys to vote. It needs to be moved on.
All right, if there's no one else who wishes to address the board, I'll close the second hearing and privilege of the floor and ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll motion to adjourn.
A second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. Thank you, everybody.
Mike, can you talk for a second? Email today, but what is your schedule like? Are you ever available during the school day?